Welcome back to another edition of Adventures in Business. In today's episode, we have the privilege of sitting down with Natalie Hodge Davis, a dynamic force in the creative world. She's an actress, director, producer, author, business owner, community developer, and the list goes on and on. She founded Rudy's Girl Media in 2016, offering a variety of creative services, and is also a hub for creativity in Martinsville, Virginia. She produces a show called Hometown Hustle, telling stories of entrepreneurs in her community. She dedicates her life to supporting fellow creators and entrepreneurs. Join us as we dive into her remarkable journey and discover how she's providing an inspiring creative space for those around her. Enjoy my episode with Natalie. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ryan.
This is great. This is also my second time in Martinsville now, and both reasons were because of you.
Well, we'll have the key to the city for you next time you come. So just be ready for that. Special. I know. Wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah. Yeah. And I already went to the coffee shop today.
Yeah. So got your coffee.
Got my coffee right here. Ground floor. Shout out. There's no logo on the cup. I was going to show it. And somebody from our event.
Yeah.
Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? My weeks are getting way messed up. In like media production years, it was like last year. Okay. Yeah.
But in real life, I think it's 2 weeks.
Anyway, I connected with somebody that was at the event, which was cool. Came over and talked to me for a little bit. And she was like, you know what? I had never heard about Mr. Beast until you told me that. At the event, I went and looked him up and stuff, and she was like, this is great.
Look at you promoting Mr. Beast to the people.
I know, Mr. Beast, you got to come onto my show.
You've got to, really.
Yeah. All right, so we're here at Rudy's Girl Media in downtown Martinsville, uptown they call it here.
Yeah, just to make it more positive.
Yeah.
Upbeat.
Yeah. And it's a very positive town.
Yeah.
Really cool community. It's a very much entrepreneur-led community, which excites me a lot. Much is led by you.
Oh, well. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm a part of an incredible community of people who believe in small businesses.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about Martinsville? Because I think a lot of people think about Martinsville as the NASCAR race.
Right.
Which is the same for like Bristol, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee. It's like the NASCAR races there. So that's what people know because that's how, the media kind of sees that community. So tell us just a little bit more about Martinsville and then we'll get into your story a little bit.
Yeah. So like a lot of communities in Southern Virginia, we went from farming to factories and then as manufacturing kind of transitioned out of the country. We're a community that's been reinventing itself. And that's why entrepreneurship is so important here, because people have always seen that as an opportunity for economic development. And there's a hyper focus on it now, rightfully so, that small businesses are driving a lot of the economy here and supporting community engagement. So we love that. And I grew up in this community and my family owned a small business in this community. So it's really special to me on so many different levels. Yeah,
that's cool. And your husband is very much involved as well.
Oh, yeah.
We spent a lot of time together, after our event. And he was telling us like how much he volunteers and stuff for people. And then I just saw him coming out of the coffee shop and he was telling me about another thing that he was volunteering for that he didn't talk about last time. I was like, of course you did.
Yeah. Yeah. He is a man about town, really. Yeah. And that is one of the things I really love about him is because he has such a heart for people, helping folks in their journey. And it could be a small business. It could be a community organization. It could be just someone having an event. He is about spreading the word and creating space for them to have celebrity within the community.
Yeah. And the TAD space is super, super cool.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a partnership with him and Wayne.
Yeah. He and Wayne worked together many years ago doing event planning stuff. I put that very nicely. They were party planning, which, there's nothing wrong with that, but they were creating these cool events back in the day. And when Wayne returned to the community, he had been working in corporate America, came back, wanted to re-engage as an entrepreneur. He and Hassan started building Tad Space together. And it's a really important part of Uptown. It's a really important part of the overall entrepreneurial landscape as this co-working space, event space, new things developing as far as the bistro downstairs. So really cool stuff.
And I couldn't believe how big that building was. Like, you took us through a tour of it, and it was like, does this building ever stop? It was like 3 or 4 floors. We went on the rooftop.
It's a lot of space. And so they've been taking it in small bites. You know, they first started having events on that main ballroom level, and then they opened up spaces for people to be able to work there and perfected those spaces. And Wayne is a perfectionist. Let me just say that. He's always got his hands in something. So he's doing even more things to make the space as high level as it possibly can. And that lower level where the bistro and the performance space will be, it's going to be super cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And just what they've done so far, I mean, it looks really cool because you've got like a stage built out for like local performers and regional people to come in. It's going to be a really cool thing for here for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about you a little bit.
Okay.
What is Natalie doing before Rudy's Girl Media?
So many things. I worked in higher education and enjoyed so much working with young people, helping them create a vision, a plan for their lives, helping them pivot as they were discovering things about themselves that they didn't know as young people living with families and parents, just charting a new path. So that's always been an important part of my story. When I was in New York, working at Columbia University, the Teachers College campus, I discovered background acting.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it was really fun to pretend to drink coffee or walk down a crowded street.
I'm not pretending.
Yeah, right. Let me see how you... Very nice.
Did you do this number?
I did not. I did. So that's a new thing that I can incorporate into my background acting strategy. So because I didn't know a lot about media production, film and television production, all I knew was acting as a job. Going on to these huge sets, sometimes for a major motion picture or a television series like Law and Order.
You were on a Law and Order set?
That's right.
No way.
Way.
That is really, really cool.
Several times I was on Law and Order. You may not have seen me, but one particular time, this was the time I was most excited about. It was a courtroom scene, and they had a bunch of background actors, of course. And I played the role of a hooker. Yeah.
You got paid for that, right?
I got... Yes, for pretending.
For pretending. Okay.
Right. And you know what? My mom was actually really excited about this. She gave me some tips on what I should put together for my wardrobe. Anyway, off track, but so this happened. So while I was doing that, I imagined, okay, I will make acting my career. And I had a cousin who was a serious trained actor who had been doing it for many, many years, who quickly told me that background acting was not acting. And that this is a serious craft and you have to study it. So I said, I'm down for that. So I started taking acting classes. Anyway, during this process, I realized acting, not my thing. Admire actors, love the performance element of it, got so much out of that experience. Not for me. But I also knew that the entertainment business was my thing. And I just needed to figure out what my place was. Through this process, I was meeting people. I was seeing how sets are organized, discovering all of the folks who work behind the camera that you never know exist. When the credits roll, names are there, and you have no idea what they've done to contribute to a project, but they're important to the project happening. So dabbled in a bunch of different things, met Frank Callow, who's an independent director and producer in New York. Frank is my mentor. He put me under his wing. He allowed me to see behind the curtain of how things are made, from allowing me to tag along to investor meetings. I was a script supervisor for a short film. I'd learned I would never do script supervision. That was like not my thing. But I got all of this experience working with him on these independent projects. And then I knew how to do things for myself. Writing is my passion. And that, above all, is where I want to be, in the space of creating projects. But as a new writer, I needed to be able to produce them, to get something out to market. So I started producing like teasers and trailers and like smaller projects to generate a buzz. I moved to Los Angeles at one point because people were like, oh yeah, you got to be in LA to really get your foot in the door. And I believed them. And I was like, I'm committed. I'm doing it.
And so you were in New York before you moved to LA, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So moved to LA. Again, lots of opportunities to learn the business more and more, understand new elements of it. No big breaks as a part of this. Important learning happened though. And I think it's key for people to understand that you may see someone's journey on social media. Like they post something and it seems like they just emerged from nowhere and they, have a 6-picture deal or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of work that happened before. They didn't just arrive on the scene. Like, there are exceptions, right? People who just pop up and they're instantly in the mix. But for the most part, people have been working on this thing for years, rejected so many times, and just keep getting back up and getting back up and getting back up. And that was my story. At a certain point, I land back in Martinsville. I meet Hassan. He woos me. I still don't imagine that I'll be coming back because I'm deeply committed to film and television. And at that point, there was no film and television market in Martinsville. So how could I do what I do there or here? So I imagined at that point that I would be living in New York. That was my kind of vision, is move back to New York, work with the connections that I have there, move forward with some projects. He convinced me that I could do it from here. Even still, my plan was I'll be based here, I'll write here, and then I'll produce things in the larger markets where I know there are production teams. And I did one test pilot in New York, and the travel was crazy. It was a small budget for this project. It wasn't like I could really pay myself for my expenses. I'm couch surfing during this time. It was crazy to try to create in that mode. And so I was just like, I don't know how this is gonna work. That didn't feel like healthy for me. So I got back into a traditional 9-to-5 gig in workforce development. That was an important part of the journey too, because that was the moment that I really plugged into the community in a very intentional and serious way. And I started to meet important people in the process, not knowing how they would impact my passion projects, my business. It was just the work that I was doing that allowed for me to make a lot of connections in the community. And then in 2019, we produced a short film called Cell, about a man who returns home from being incarcerated and taps into a creative idea to do something different with his life. And that was based on experiences that I had in workforce development with people who were coming home from being incarcerated and struggling to figure out how to make their place in the community, how to find meaningful work. And so it's just been rolling from there. And last year was an incredible year where we went into season 2 of a show. We opened up the studio, and it's been all of this great momentum.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So back to your college working days, what jobs did you have in the university, like higher ed? Like what types of jobs?
So I primarily worked in residence life. And then at one point I was at the Art Institute of Los Angeles, the Santa Monica campus. And I worked with students on identifying part-time jobs and internships. So I was like a job coach, which really suited me.
Yeah. Was a part of that at the time, which I think there's a disconnect too. Like we talk about entrepreneurship a lot, but a lot of people don't see entrepreneurship in higher ed or education as a career path. And they're not like talking about it like, hey, this could actually be your job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like it's the most amazing multidisciplinary experience that you can have. As an entrepreneur, you have to plug into psychology. You have to plug into law. You have to plug into business management, clearly. But there are so many things that English, writing skills, like technical skills, you have to be able to either do those things or to adequately assess someone else's skill set to be able to provide those services for your business.
Yeah.
So it is the most comprehensive kind of experience you could have as a college program.
Yeah. And when you were in New York and LA, did you meet a lot of different people and like make some like meaningful connections that would then later help you when you moved back?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mentioned Frank Callow, who continues to be a support. I can, pick up the phone and contact him any point with questions, or he shared, documents. He's supported with projects he's directed. He directed the test pilot that I worked on, Kelly's Corner, that filmed in New York. I have a lot of folks on that list, and many of them not even in film and television necessarily, but people who were a part of my higher education journey who are a support in some way. So I have an amazing network, and I feel very fortunate to have that.
Did you go to Guilford your whole college career?
So I was at Guilford all of undergrad, was a double major in Justice and Policy Studies and African American Studies.
Okay.
And then I went to Cornell for a master's in African American Studies.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so that doesn't really resonate with what you do now necessarily.
Not at all. And I
so
tell
what did
people,
you think you were going to do?
I just got this question earlier today. So here was the vision that I had when I applied to Cornell's master's program in African American Studies. I will get this master's degree, and I will follow it up with going to law school, and I'll be a civil rights attorney.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I landed, that changed. And I always intuitively kind of knew that I would be teaching in some way, though I didn't feel like it would be in a traditional sense. And since then, I have been teaching in my own way in these different experiences, even in working with folks with the studio.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly educating people on media production, on storytelling, helping people connect to their passion through this work. So that teaching spirit is there. It's just I've never activated it in an actual like classroom setting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I want to talk more about this Law and Order thing because it's really intriguing.
Because of the hooker thing?
No, not because of the hooker thing. Just because you were like on set.
Yeah.
Like you were in an episode. Like what does the prep look like for all that? And how long did you like film like your shot? Like tell us a little bit about behind the scenes of what that looked like.
Okay. Let me pull back the curtain of being a background actor. Okay. So first off, when you are a background actor, you're pretty much, unless it's a special situation, you are in charge of your own wardrobe. So when they reach out to you to book you for this thing, they'll say, we need you to bring these types of things, stay away from these colors, focus on these colors, no strobing patterns or whatever. So
Could you expense it, or did you have to pay for it?
well, I just use stuff that I have for the most part, which don't judge me that I had hooker attire like in my wardrobe.
It was already
I
in the
didn't,
closet.
yeah, I didn't buy anything. I had some anyway, moving forward. So you get this kind of list and you're supposed to bring options. So, we all walk in with a little suitcase, and then there's a person who you show the options and they're like, okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. I had this kind of lavender sweater that was always selected. I don't know what it was about this sweater, but it was in so many shows. I giggle about it because I know they're going to pick this sweater, and they did. So for that particular Law and Order episode, I did have some red, patent leather boots. I don't know why I had them, but I had them. And my mom said those red boots would be great. And anyway, so that was a part of the get up. So you roll in with your wardrobe, that gets selected, and then they figure out kind of where they want to position you. And you're there. They kind of choreograph your movements for the scene. So you have your own set of directions. When this happens, do this. When that happens, do this. Walk this direction, then turn here, hold for a beat, and then make a right, whatever that is. And then the actors who are actually, the main characters in the scene, they roll in, they get set up, director yells action, and we all kind of do our thing. So I was on several episodes of Law and Order. My favorite thing to do, though, was As the World Turns. Yes, the soap opera As the World Turns. Great set, because with As the World Turns, they filmed out in Brooklyn, and you were in a closed set. So with other productions, if it's an interior scene, like for the Law and Order situation, of course, you're in a studio with a courtroom setup. But a lot of times,
I see.
It could be an exterior, and then you're battling with the elements. And it could be a summer scene, but it's actually winter outside.
Right.
But you have to wear summer attire.
Oh, gosh.
Or vice versa. So that gets to be a little tricky.
Yeah.
But As the World Turns, it's all interior. Even scenes where they may suggest that it's outside, it's all interior. You get your own dressing room. Ooh. So most of the time, background actors are kind of in a holding space, and it's not.
You're not
posh.
getting your own green room or anything like that.
No.
Do you get to eat the food from the buffet?
Oh, okay. So there are snacks, and seasoned background actors know which sets have the best food.
Okay.
And also seasoned background actors often bring Tupperware to extend that experience. Smart. So there's the food that you get for your meal break, but then they also have a thing called craft services. And those are snacks and little treats and things. Very nice. As the World Turns, you get your own, or when it was on, you'd get your own dressing room, and you'd be on the hallway with the principal actors for the show.
Oh, cool.
So everybody's mixing and mingling. I'm down the hall from Holden.
Did you feel like on top of the world?
Listen, I felt like I had arrived.
This is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
I am on point right now. I'm on purpose. It was so cool. And so I got to spend the day pretending to sip coffee in the coffee shop.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. And When did it dawn on you that was like, oh, well, this is really not for me?
Okay, so here's what's interesting. I left an amazing position at Columbia, and it was right at the time of the writer's strike.
Oh, man. Which is going on currently.
I know. Yeah. I had all sorts of flashbacks when this happened. So I left this position immediately. There was this boom in bookings that I had. So I was on Gossip Girl and Flagship Law and Order and Law and Order SVU, like all in the same week. I was just getting all this work. I didn't know that things had probably kind of escalated as far as like production because a strike was looming. See, I didn't know. And then it happened and all of those shows shut down. And that meant Nat's background acting career kind of came to a quick close. I was still taking classes. I was still going on auditions for commercial projects. It was just my background acting fund money had ceased to exist. And so I had to figure out some things. So of course I did what a lot of great actors do, and that is to find a job in the hospitality industry. So I worked at a restaurant for a bit.
Okay.
And it was also a fun experience. I met more celebrities working at the restaurant than I did acting.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's great. And I think that's awesome that you worked in that industry, because that is like, I feel like everybody should have to work in that industry so they just like learn how to deal with people.
Yes.
And then customer service as well. You learn so much.
So much.
Yeah.
Super important stuff.
Yeah. And when you say you were getting offered all these jobs and stuff like that, did you have like an agent or like a talent manager or somebody that was helping you get some of those acting jobs?
So for, I had a commercial agent who was sending me out on auditions. But for background acting, you pretty much can register with some services that do the casting for background acting, and then you're plugged into the system. Sometimes people will kind of call you up directly if you've worked with them before and they kind of have you on the list. But you're booking yourself on a lot of that stuff through those casting services.
Okay. How do they pay background actors? What's good if you are somebody that's a background actor?
So, okay, I can talk about what it was when I was doing it, which was about $125 a day-ish.
Okay.
Just depending too on how long you go.
Okay.
So once you hit a certain benchmark, then you start to get paid like overtime. So that can extend.
Okay.
That.
Did you ever have opportunities to be in like bigger roles?
So there were some things that were bigger than just pretending to drink coffee. Like, let me see. This was a scale up now. So now I'm trying to think of the name of this particular position. Yes, I was a stand-in for a guest star on The Good Wife.
Okay.
And so a stand-in is someone who is a similar size, complexion as the actor who's going to be in the role. And you go in, they set up all the lighting and blocking with the stand-in. So the principal actor can just be kind of getting zen, rehearsing or whatever, getting ready for the scene. When everything is set up and ready to go, then that actor comes in and is there, and stand-in goes off to the side and hangs out until they reset. So that was something that was completely off screen, but it paid a little more, and it was just a really cool gig to be a part of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, let's fast forward a little bit. You've got the Hometown Hustle shirt on. So I want to know more about Hometown Hustle, like why you started that, how you started it, and kind of where you are with it now. I know you've done a couple seasons with it.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so Hometown Hustle started in the pandemic. I was in these workforce development focus groups around how small businesses were surviving during the pandemic. We wanted to figure out how we could support entrepreneurs, small business owners, as we were in this unprecedented time. And I was incredibly just amazed at the stories of small business owners, some of the things they did to pivot and to keep going during the pandemic. And while I was in one of those sessions, Chris Lawless, who is in season 2 of Hometown Hustle, he has a welding company in Henry County. He talked about the family environment that he created. And because of this family environment that he created with his business, his team didn't take the extended unemployment benefits. They opted to be there to make sure he could keep his doors open. And I was like, wow, this is a story people should know. And somebody should tell this story. And I thought, well, it could be me. And season 1 was born. It was 6 10-minute episodes. Really a pilot to see how the whole thing would work. And we premiered it on YouTube, got a really great response, a lot of organic reach with season 1. And we did it on a tiny budget, like super small budget. It was, even as it was 6 10-minute episodes, it felt exhausting to try to churn out this content.
It's a lot to coordinate.
It was a lot, and to host. And so I'm wearing multiple hats, like I'm hosting and then I'm coordinating and then, back and forth. So I didn't really know what would happen with a next season.
Yeah.
The vision was someone will see this and see how amazing this show is, and they will drop a whole load of cash on me to produce a future season. So that didn't happen. But because of the energy around season 1, we were able to generate some sponsors for season 2. So we had a slightly bigger budget.
Yeah.
And Rise Collaborative was the major sponsor for season 2. And the Rise Collaborative footprint is across Southern Virginia. And so we selected communities within their footprint, 11 different communities we touched during season 2, extended the episodes from 10-minute episodes to 22-minute episodes to fit with the traditional TV kind of formula.
Yeah.
Those episodes toggle between 2 different business owners in the communities. And it made the storytelling even richer. And we did 10 of those episodes, which that's an even bigger undertaking.
Yeah.
And we're traveling across Southern Virginia in a van to film these episodes. A lot of us had never worked together before. So that was a fun experience. And we did it as, folks from this community pulling together very raw talent to make a show.
That's so cool. Is Rise Collaborative, are they a part of Go Virginia? Like how they separated in different regions?
So they are a part of Go Virginia Region 3.
Okay.
And it is the entrepreneurship focused kind of segment of the Go Virginia Region 3 initiative.
Okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
And it is really well done. I watched some
Thank
of the
you.
episodes of season 2. I haven't watched the season 1, but the feel of it is kind of like, I told you this before, but it's kind of got that feel of like an HGTV show or one of those kind of like shows that are on there, like that you would see on TV. So it was super well done, and probably it's what you might have been going for even.
We wanted to be feel good, to invite people into what it is to be a small business owner. I think there's a lot of mythology around small business ownership, especially because of social media. You just see people pop up and they're making so much money and they're living their best lives. And I'm like, there's some of that. There's a lot of joy in what we do, but there's also a lot of sweat and blood and tears to connect to that cliche, but it's real. And I wanted to be able to showcase real people who have activated in the entrepreneurial space, so that people who are interested in it kind of know what the process is. The people who are in those communities understand the importance of supporting small businesses.
Yeah.
And that, this show is about rural entrepreneurship, which is very different than a show that might happen in New York or Los Angeles or Atlanta.
Right.
This is about what people are doing in small communities where their reach is sometimes magnified because of the size of the community.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk about some of your memorable moments from Hometown Hustle, season 1 and 2, and the moments that were maybe not the best moments of it. I remember this one part, which is probably just like a part of the show, but you were doing the yoga studio and the I think it was yoga or ballet, plus the guy that had the kayaks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was like you entered into the studio, everything was already happening, but you just kind of like jumped in and started the thing. Maybe that was a part of it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a mistake turned into an opportunity. So
here's what I'll tell you about that. If you go back to season 1, you'll see that we featured a woman named Miss Teresa School of Baton and Dance, which is in Collinsville, Virginia. And so I got a lesson there. Our vision was, we're going to 2.0. We're going to get another dance lesson at this studio, which specializes not only in dance, but all sorts of performing arts kind of coaching that they do. So I get there and I'm thinking it's going to be, a light session.
You were working out.
Oh, you didn't even see all the things. Like, there were some things I'm so glad didn't make it. I mean, I was struggling. So just motivation to get my fitness game together. But these dancers are athletes.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. I was sweating. My hair, see, this is when you have the lower budget. You do not have a hair and makeup person. I needed hair. Ooh, it was tough. It was tough. I'm so glad that we were not able to kayak with the kayak, because I would have been exhausted. We would have had to stop production. But the dance studio was tough. That was real.
That's awesome. Is there any stories of like you all trying to get to a place, or van breaking down, or like cameras not rolling when they should have been rolling? And you had 2 camera people on season 2, right? Yeah.
We had a 2 camera setup for season 2. Season 1, we did it all with one, and just trying to expand the production value. So we did have a moment. This was very early on in our trip to other communities outside the local area, where the drone got hung up in a tree.
Oh.
And so that was a tough moment. So no more drone footage for the rest of the season.
Oh, man.
Let me see what else. I mean, we were all in this van, and I was kind of in the back of the van with the snacks and the luggage. And while we're driving places, I'm communicating with Dana, who was doing our production coordinating, and we're kind of trying to figure out things for the next couple of days or whatever was going on that day, and researching stuff and making phone calls. And then I pop out of the van and I go into host mode, and then I'm back producing. Man. And I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. I slept so good when we got done.
I bet. And what did production days look like? Were they like a full 8-hour, we're filming all day, we're going to try to be as efficient as possible? Or, did you do it in 2 days? How did you sort of set it up?
So we dedicated 1 day to each community.
Okay.
This made it a race against time because remember, one community is 2 businesses. And sometimes in the communities we kind of didn't know as much about, there was a significant distance between those two businesses. So there's travel time that we have to work in. And it's a clothing change. It's a reset of thinking. It's going from, oh, we're at a farm where I'm milking goats to I'm at a dentist's office. And so that mental reset for not only myself as the host, but the entire team, it felt taxing at times. We pull up into a community and immediately we're hopping out to get B-roll and figure out, all right, what's our intro setup? And let's go in and make sure that we make a connection with the folks that we're featuring for the day and helping people get through their nervousness about being on camera at the same time as trying to navigate the production stuff. And it's a small team.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It was a lot.
So do you watch like Chef's Table or anything like that on Netflix? Chef's Table. There's Somebody Feeds Phil, Parts Unknown with Anthony Bourdain.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I was always like intrigued, like how long does it really take to film one of those episodes? Like how many people are involved? And it's like super well done, like one episode of 25, 30 minutes. I think they're actually longer than that, but, Sean Brock, which is a celebrity chef, he is in Nashville now, but he's from Southwest Virginia, from Pound, Virginia, which is just by Norton. And he came back this year to speak at the Economic Forum this year. And I got to spend some like time with him, like 30, 40 minutes. And he was on an episode of Chef's Table. Like they focused on him and his story. And I was like, how long did that take to film? 30 days just on like his story. Unreal. He was like, it was the most like draining thing I've ever done.
Let me tell you something, because I'm not formally trained in this industry. I worked with Frank. We're piecing things together with smaller budgets and figuring out how to do it. So I was never in a position where I have this opportunity to work with a big production entity or studio to get that experience of we're taking this extended amount of time to perfect this piece.
Yeah.
We had a bleep, bleep, bleep day to get it done and get out of there. And so there were a lot of things that were like, oh, well, we're not going to use that. Or, something happened along the way where we got to work around stuff because we don't have the budget.
Yeah.
And after this experience of doing it, and I describe it as like having a baby, even though I've never had a baby, so moms, forgive me. But it was just like, this process of pushing this project out. And I went to a community event, and there was a woman who spoke at that event who was featured on 60 Minutes. And she mentioned that her segment of 60 Minutes, they came out to film for 10 days.
Wow.
And I was just like, 10 days? What if we had 10 days to film one element of the production? I mean, it would be flawless.
Yeah. And the story just got, if you have more time to film, like more things happen, the story just gets better, it evolves,
Yeah. One day.
Yeah.
Well,
which is incredible. Like when you go watch one of your episodes, you can't tell like at all that it was just like all one day, which is, kudos to you and your team.
Yeah. And it's one day per community. So a half day for one business.
Yeah. So you're in the morning. We're going to start at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever. We're going to film until like lunch.
Yep.
We're going to eat really quickly.
Yep.
And then
sometimes
we're going to go see the next business.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for my team.
What did post-production look like? You've got a room just on the other side of this wall that has like 15 gaming chairs.
Yeah. So post-production was a pretty long process. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, okay, what is long? Because we're talking again about if we were doing this at whatever you would deem as the highest level, so if this was, a traditional platforms production, there's a whole team of people who've been doing this for a long time, who take a particular element of the post-production process and they're masters of that thing. And so if they're doing color correction, or if they're, audio engineering, whatever their expertise is, that's their thing for the process. We're like generalists, like everyone is a utility player here. So there might be someone who has more of an expertise and a passion for color grading something. And that person would end up contributing that. But everybody's involved in the process. We would have team meetings and screen different cuts of it and make notes. Not only did the in-house team work on it, but Wayne has a team at TadSpace that, also does video production. They support it with the project.
Oh, that's great.
It was a whole effort to get that thing out in post, especially because, again, with the production and having such a condensed amount of time to produce this project, there were a lot of blemishes to work around naturally because, we're running and gunning. So now we have to take whatever we have from that condensed amount of time and massage out the pieces that we want to massage out. If there's something missing in the storytelling, then we got to go back and do narration to fill in gaps. And so there was a lot that had to be done in order to get this to market. So we're really proud of what we were able to produce with the budget, with the circumstances. All of us have grown as a result of that project.
Yeah, I'm sure so. And it feels so good to upload it when you're done.
Bye.
I mean, it feels so good. Do you go back? I get like this when I upload a video. The first probably week, I'm just refreshing. How many views? Refreshing. Do you do that?
So we were view watching definitely at the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
And then we got into, because we released 2 episodes per week.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah. So we did 5 weeks of releases.
Okay.
And the reason we did that is because the post-production process took so long, and we wanted to make sure that the people who sponsored the project would get to experience it sooner rather than later.
Okay.
So we expedited that process. And then we also knew that if we went a full 10 weeks of releasing each week, then we would be bumping into the summer, which is a hard time to rally around a new show at that, with no marketing budget. Because we, spent all our money actually producing. So we're releasing 2 episodes per week. And then before each episode, I'd go live, answer questions. We would be live responding during the release time. So on those release days, that's additional time that I have to be on and engaging with people. And so Tuesday we released something. We had a whole schedule of how we're promoting it. And then the next episode we'd release on Thursday. So as soon as we were done with that episode, it's promoting the release of the Thursday episode. That cycle was exhausting. Then we had some live events that we did to premiere the episode in particular communities.
Oh, that's cool.
It was super cool to do that.
Did people pay for a ticket, or was it a free event?
Free event, just wanting to support the good energy of the community, showcase these small businesses in new ways.
What a great idea.
Yeah. And so we're traveling again to the communities to be there, to be present, to be a part of those celebrations of the release of the episode. And, that's time and energy. And I'm fortunate, I definitely don't want to complain at all about the experience, in that we were welcomed with open arms in these spaces and treated like celebrities as we came in. And we have lifelong relationships now with some of the economic development folks, some of the business owners that we touched in the experience. So it's been amazing. But flashing back to it, I also am like, exhaustion.
Yeah.
Because it did take a lot of time to promote as we're fine tuning. Sometimes we'd have little tweaks that we'd want to make to the episode before the final upload. So that was a race against time. It's all sorts of fun.
Yeah. What do you do to chill out?
So Hassan is captain of the chill squad.
He's like totally just like zen all the time, I feel.
I love him. Sometimes I'm just like, okay. He is a great balance for me. Because he is captain of the chill squad, he's always like, let's spend a day here, or let's go get massages or pedicures or whatever. He's always inserting those types of activities, which force me to kind of power down a little bit. Otherwise, I would just keep going. I have a to-do list that only grows. It doesn't shrink.
Yeah.
So I need to have that type of balance, especially in the moments where we're, again, racing against time. We're really wanting to put a project out. It's high stress. It's high, high energy investment in something. When I'm not in those modes, I love walking. I love connecting to nature in that way. I pretty much every morning, unless there's monsoon rain, I will be out walking on the trail, just kind of decompressing, getting my thoughts together for the day. That's really important to me.
That's where I'm most creative.
Yeah.
Like just let my mind wander a little bit, and like all my ideas come to me when I'm just like not connected to any device or anything.
Yeah, it's so good for me. And I notice after those walks, I need to have paper. I need to have my phone or my laptop, something, because I have so much clarity. Yeah. All of the questions that I've had, now the answers pour in, and I'm like, let me capture all of this.
Yeah.
So that's really good for me. That's I think my personal kind of therapy.
Okay.
Walk therapy.
Love it. Oh, you ready to do a segment?
Yeah.
A little different side of you?
Okay.
All right. So this is a great one, I feel.
Okay.
And I think you're going to have fun with this one. If you could create any movie right now, what story would you tell? And who would you star in it? The budget is no issue. And what location would you choose?
Oh, gosh.
That's a lot.
That was a lot. Number one, I'm going to go with Viola Davis. I absolutely love her. And I love her because she's an incredible actor. I love her because of her journey and how she has been so outspoken about people having equal pay in the industry. And she's just incredible. She's incredible, as an artist. She's incredible as an advocate for creative people. So
that was like an easy one for you.
Yeah, like she was. I knew that she would be in it. So check that off. What would this movie be about? What the movie would be about, not necessarily my story, but the story of women who have made an impact in a male-dominated space.
Yeah.
And have overcome in those spaces and created opportunities for all people, not just women, but all people to kind of get their foot in the door of something that feels very exclusive. I think about the entertainment industry because that's the space that I'm in, and I know it's really tough for everyone to get in. If you're not already an insider, if you're not born into it, it's a challenge. But I think women in particular have a unique set of challenges. So it would be about that. Where would it take place? Can I just cheat and say Martinsville? Yeah. Well, why not? I really want.
You should.
Yeah. Doggone it.
Your cost would be a lot lower too.
No, it would be awesome. I would encourage anyone who's thinking about producing something to consider non-traditional spaces.
Yeah.
Because communities like Martinsville feel so overwhelmingly proud to have productions choose them.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great experience for a production company to experience the space too. Like to be here and understand the warmth and love of a community like this. So I'll put it here.
Yeah, and the community kind of rallies behind you. Like when you're shooting in like a rural community, it's like, what do you need?
100%. And even as we are doing things very grassroots, on a smaller scale than a huge studio production, the red carpet is rolled out for us.
Yeah.
I can contact anyone in the community and get a response back. People are always happy to help. If they're not able to do something, super willing to point me in the direction of someone who can. And actually with Cell, we had lined up a director, and that director had equipment and everything. We were ready to go to film Cell. The director we lined up had this opportunity to go out to California to work on another project.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, oh no. And so we were at the point where we're locked in, like it's happening. So I said, I'm going to make a list of everyone in the community who I know has a camera, and I'm reaching out to see if they would be down to work on this. And there's a guy who owns a TV station here, and he has a call-in show type thing. He does a lot of like live reporting. He's a controversial character in the community. This was not at all kind of his thing as we saw it. But he was on the list because we know he has equipment. We know he has the ability to film something. And so at one point I was just like, he's not going to do this. Like, he's not going to be into this. This is not his thing. And that day or the next day, I saw him filming a commercial in the street. And I was like, that's a sign. I have to call him because this was my commitment.
Yeah. Call
everyone who has a camera. So I met with him. He's like, I'm imagining you don't have a budget for this. I said, no budget. He was like, I'd love to do it. I'd love to help you out. Whatever you need.
No way.
From my team, equipment, you got it. This is great. He was there as a part of the whole process, super supportive. He owns a cinema, allowed us to screen the project free.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a divine thing. It
was so divine. And he is the most unexpected supporter of what I've done. And, he doesn't have the warm and fuzzy kind of reputation in the community. But when I tell you Charles Rourke had my back and is the reason that Cell happened.
Wow.
Which was really the start of me doing stuff in the community, producing things here.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call him the Grinch that stole television. Because he has like this little heart that's grown.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Next question. If you had to teach a class, what subject would it be? And it can't be about media or entrepreneurship.
So I would teach African American studies.
Okay.
Had such a huge impact on my journey, and I'm qualified to teach a class in African American studies. So that made that a little bit easy. Interestingly, when I started at Guilford, or when I applied to Guilford, in the application, you have to kind of identify what you believe your major is going to be. And I put history because I thought I will be a social studies teacher, a high school social studies teacher. When I started at Guilford, my plan was to be a business management major. So this just shows you that I really don't stick to a lot of stuff. When I find something, though, I'm in it. But so at that point, business management. Accounting happened. Business management was out the window with that accounting class.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision at that point. I had to declare a major at that moment. So I sat down and I looked at all of the classes that I loved. I would never miss a class. I always did the assigned reading. It felt like I felt inspired. That's how I picked my double major. So Justice and Policy Studies, I love those classes, inspiring instructors. African American Studies, the content was incredible. Dr. Adrienne Israel was like my hero. She's just the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life, aside from my mom. And so, yeah, I would teach African American Studies.
That's great. All right, next question. What snack would you choose when you go on a road trip? Like a snack that you just cannot live without on a road trip or on these shoots that you're going on in the van? Like, what are you snacking on?
So this is a tough question because I go through snack phases.
Yeah, me too.
So right now I'm on this mixed nut phase.
Okay.
And Sam's Club has this lightly salted container of mixed nuts. It's got the cashews. It's got the pecans. It's got the pistachio. It's got all the ones that I really enjoy. And I don't even know the brand of this, but they got it. Nice. And so I'm on this mixed nut kick. Hassan likes to dip his little hand, and I'm side-eyeing him when I see him dipping his hand into my mixed nut container. But I guess that's marriage. Sharing and things like that.
What beverage are you having alongside the mixed nuts?
I have an addiction to chai lattes with oat milk.
Okay. Like a cold,
so I'm going cold right now. Okay. Like when it's really hot. And it has to be really hot outside for me to take the cold option. Typically I go with the hot option. Okay. But it's so soothing to me.
I like it too. Yeah. You're a coffee drinker too though, right?
I drink a little bit of coffee.
But more tea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chai specifically.
Yeah. It's so
That's
good.
my thing. I'm a chai connoisseur.
Are you really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I get it enough to know like, this is a little spicier version of it, or this one feels more cinnamony. Yeah.
Does the ground floor make a good one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Josh Blancas, the owner of the ground floor, got me onto oat milk. So I was doing almond, and he's like, try oat. You might like oat. Changed my life.
Yeah, it's a little bit sweeter than almond milk.
It is.
I feel. Yeah. And I'm allergic to almonds. So
okay, don't do almond milk.
I can't do that anymore, which sucks, but that's a different story. But anyways, tell us a little bit more about Rudy's Girl Media, some projects you're working on now, what excites you about your company right now, some of the things you're working on.
I think what excites me right now about what we're doing is that we're expanding into storytelling for a lot of businesses and organizations in the community. Originally, my vision for Rudy's Girl was that it would be strictly film and television writing, because that's what I knew and loved and enjoyed. And that was my kind of entry point into the business once I discovered acting was not for me. But now, because we're putting a lot of content on social media, companies are reaching out to say, hey, I'd like to do a capital campaign video, or I'd like to do a commercial, or we want to enhance our social media presence with some video content, which is absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So they're calling us to put together those projects, and that feels pretty incredible to be able to do that, knowing the impact that digital content is having on the globe, and on the work that we do as a small production entity. It's really helped us get more eyes on our longer form content.
Cool. Is there anything else that you want to talk about today? You ghostwrite books too. Like you didn't even talk about that.
Yeah. So this started actually at one point. I was living in Los Angeles. I was really frustrated with the fact that I'm in the film and television capital of the world, and I can't get anything produced. You know what? I'm going to write something that I don't need anyone to green light. And so I wrote my first book, which is The Biggest But in the World, B-U-T, 1T. And it's about the fears that prevent us from moving forward with living our best lives. So it's like a humorous self-help book, so to speak. And so I published that book. And so then people started to know me as someone who could write things. Along the way, other people would reach out to me about writing a television show treatment or writing a screenplay for an idea that they had. So I started gross writing in that way. Eventually, I started to bump into people who were like, oh, you've written a book. I'd like to write a book. I don't know how. I'm like, well, I think I could probably help. And so that opened the door for ghostwriting. So that's one of the services that we provide here too.
Which I don't feel like a lot of people in this like region do that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it seems like a unique service and a niche.
Yeah. I don't know a lot of folks who are doing that particular kind of work. And it's very special because when you're ghostwriting something, or at least when we're doing it, we really get into the space of having the voice of that individual.
Yeah.
Because it does no good to have a book that doesn't have the same kind of energy as the person, because the person will go out to a speaking engagement or an event and they'll be communicating in a way that's totally different than what their writing style is in the book. So it's important for there to be a level of authenticity, and we have a secret sauce to be able to do that.
That's awesome. And I discovered too that you have a hometown hustle guidebook.
Yeah, just released that. It's all the things that I think people should know when they're entering into the space of small business ownership or the idea phase of it. Making sure that you actually do a business plan.
Yeah.
So there's debate about business plan or no business plan. And for a long time, I had a up here business plan.
Yeah.
And I'd help people write business plans, but I didn't have a fully articulated business plan. When I actually went through the exercise of doing that, it exposed so many opportunities for revenue that I did not even think about before. And it also showcased there were some things that I was dedicating time to that would never make any money.
Yeah.
And I needed to have that awareness. So I definitely encourage people to have a business plan. The Hustle Guide gives some tips for that. It's also just, again, in that beginning phase when you're thinking about how do I start? What kind of business should I be thinking about? It helps you walk through that process in a very accessible, easy to digest way. It's a short read. After each chapter, there are prompts to help you think through your ideas so you can, write in the book, and keep those notes with you as you're on your journey to small business development.
That's cool. Where can people find it?
It is on Amazon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So do they just search Hometown Hustle Guide? Is that what it's called?
Yep. Okay. Or Natalie K. Hodge. You can see all of the books that I have published.
How many books have you published?
So I have The Biggest Bud in the World that was released in 2015. In 2016, Metallic Dusty Rose, poems about life and love. Then in 2020, From Unemployed to Unstoppable. And that is a 30-day transformation guide around career, moving from one career to another, thinking about small business ownership, just a 30-day process of how to figure out what your next steps should be in your career journey. And then Hometown Hustle Guide.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've done some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And you're not even done yet. You're just getting started.
Not hardly. Yeah, absolutely.
This is great. Well, thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, this has been so fun.
This is a good
love coming to
time.
Martinsville. Second time, it won't be my last.
Yep, we will have that key to the city ready for you.
Yes. All right. That is another edition of Adventures in Business. Thanks for watching.